Hey, YouTube, we are back, Dr. Ray and Dr. Pace Newburn. Today we have a special we're going to do for you, especially for Halloween, is scary horror stories in nursing. So we're both going to tell a story that we found to be unique, a horror story, if you will, within the realm of nursing. So stay tuned. First up, we have Dr. Pace Newburn.
Okay, so back in, I can't even remember the year, it doesn't really matter the year, but I worked in a hospital that was pretty much brand new, okay? Two parts. So our hospital moved. So they had one hospital building and they decided they wanted to relocate. So they built a whole new hospital in a different part of town. So you had the old one and then you have the new one. Well, the old one, when they were in the process of moving everything around, I was pregnant at this point in time where we were going to do the what's it called? The tour of the new hospital and where your unit's going to be. And we had a scavenger hunt and we took us to the morgue and everything. They showed us, I mean, of course, nobody was there because it's a brand new hospital. Took us to the morgue and all that. But anyway, went through the hospital, whatever. And so when we were in the process of moving from one hospital to another, we had to look like you pack your house. We had to pack our units. I mean, of course they had movers, but we had to pack up like, okay, throw away stuff. We did all that stuff, right? So anyway, fast forward, it's time to move. It's time to physically move to the hospital. It's moving day. They had to get patients transported, and there was a whole process of getting, okay, ICU gets transported first. The most critical patients got transferred first. Okay, you had a slew of ambulances come, transfer patients. You had to have staff at the old hospital, staff at the new hospital, right? Anyway, the move is happening. It was a whole day process. The move is happening. Patients are being moved. And I wasn't working that day, but I did stay behind. I wasn't working on the clock per se as a nurse, but I stayed behind to kind of help with just because I was pregnant, so I couldn't do much. Throwing more stuff away, getting things ready because this hospital is going to be gutted and going to be, there's a store there now. Okay, there's a store there. So it's going to be gutted and tore down. Fast forward, the move has happened, it's fine, right? And I'm not pregnant no more than had the baby. Now they're in the process of tearing this building down. When I tell you, so they tore the building down, right? There's now, I think, a Publix or something there on that property. When I tell you about the spirits that they disturbed, I don't know how to say it, that they didn't get moved. I mean, not that they're gonna move to the new hospital, but if you're spiritual at all, then you know that sometimes they have a hard time transitioning sometimes. When I tell you that people will go to this Publix, the same Publix is here today, and when you go down the aisle, what time of the day it is, go down the aisle, I don't know floor, it actually was when that part of the aisle where the refrigerators, you know, where you go get your pizzas, your frozen pizza, you put the door open. When I tell you the condensation on them doors would have images and stuff in it, people would lose their minds. Yes, lose their minds at the Publix. So like that property is sacred property because of course people have passed there and whatever reason didn't transition or their spirits are still lingering, whatever happens to be. So I went to the Publix. I said, you know what, you know how you have the paranormal, those shows, the paranormal type of activity that people go and I'm gonna stay overnight in this haunted house or whatever. It was the Publix, right? So me and a friend of mine, another nurse, was like, we gonna go up here and see. And I had the baby by then. We going up to the Publix, right? We gonna go they crazy, they talking crazy, ain't nothing like that going on. When I tell you, we go get us some just ice cream. Like I want some, it's Publix, so I want some, Publix got some good stuff. And when I tell you, so when we try to go open the door to go get the ice cream, right? You know, them doors just easily open up, get your stuff, shut it back and whatever. Sometimes you have to push it shut for it to stay shut because it will just stay open. We couldn't open the door. About 11 o'clock at night, we was there about 11 o'clock. This is all pre-COVID when things wasn't shutting down at 9, 10 o'clock. This store didn't close till like midnight. We trying to open the door to get this ice cream. And I said, I can't open the door. She said, girl, stop playing. I said, I can't open the door. She thinking I'm trying to gas her up, you know, make it seem like I said, no, I can't open the door. So she goes and she's let me see. So she goes to try to open the door. It's probably about 11 o'clock at night. It was probably about maybe 10 people in the store entirely. Think about how big a Publix is. So 10 people maybe in the store entirely, including the workers. You only got like 1 or 2 workers, cashiers, and someone doing the floor, someone putting up stock. It wasn't many people there, so it's 10 people included, maybe 10 people including me and her. We can't open the door. She can't open the door. So then a service person, stock person, he's like, can I help y'all? We can't get this door open. We're trying to get this ice cream. He's like, I'm not trying to scare y'all. We said, we already know the story. Don't tell us the story. We already know the stories because we nurses, we used to work at this, at the hospital on this property. Excuse me. So then he goes, he said, this door is a catch, is a catch, one of them catchy kind of doors. I said, what, all the doors on this whole, all these refrigerators, this is the door that doesn't work. Okay. So anyway, he goes and he tries to pull it. He got that man strength, right? Trying to pull it. He take it 2 hands. You know how, it wasn't literally like this where you put your foot up on the door trying to pull it. It wasn't literally like that, but he appeared to try to pull this door open. And when he did, right, it didn't open, but when for real, an image appeared in the condensation, like how the condensation come out the door, like the face. That man let go of that door. He flew, hit the other aisle, which was more refrigerators. And so then when he did that, we hollering.
It's time to go.
We holler, so we bleed. Yes. That man got up off that floor, threw his badge, said, I can't say what he said because it's, oh no, I ain't doing all this. I thought they was playing. That man quit that night. He beat us out the door. And we never got the ice cream, shall I say, but we ran out too, and I ain't been back to that hospital since. Okay. So again, when you have an old hospital that they have tore down the property, there's some true stories about people, spirits being still present on the property type of thing. It's not like you see on TV. Second story, because I'll make this one quick. New hospital now, right? Now I've been working, I'm done had the baby. Like I said, it's been years I had the baby. And me and a nurse was 3 nurses working this night. I was working night shift, 3 nurses working. One of I forgot what her name was, but it's 3 of us. One of them was pregnant though. And she was very far on. So if she went missing for too long, I'm gonna go see if she okay, right? Mm-hmm. So me and the other nurse was working. She was pregnant, and we had 2 bathrooms, one on one side of the hallway, one on the front side of the hallway. And so anyway, the whole unit is full with the exception of 2 rooms. We wasn't completely full. We have a 24-bed unit. We had 22 patients on the floor. We had left this particular room open. It's a large room. We typically keep it open for our C-section patients because it's a large room. And it has some history behind that room. It's just kind of eerie the way that the room sets up. So at night shift especially. So anyway, we sitting there. It's 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is when paranormal activity sometimes tend to happen. That's also around the time period that our bodies naturally shift into trying to be homeostatic, and when our internal thermostat goes down. So that's the reason why if you're up at 3 a.m., you're naturally cold at 3 a.m. and you're sleepy because you're fighting your circadian rhythm type of thing. So that's when, if you work night shift, that's when you wrapped up in a blanket at 3 o'clock in the morning because you cold. And then you typically warm back up again about 4 and become more alert again about 5 o'clock in the morning. Because again, you're supposed to be sleeping. Body is at its natural state of total rest, but we're fighting it when we're up. But anyway, side note on that. But 3 o'clock also is when the time where things can happen. If you believe in full moons and all the other stuff, that's great. This wasn't a full moon kind of night. So we had just finished our 2 a.m. vital sign rounds. We had vital signs at 2 o'clock in the morning. Just finished our rounds at 2 vital signs, and we put her document in our rows or whatever. And she was far enough along where we had said, if any call light go off that wasn't a room, we maybe need to go check on her and see what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, a call light go off in 3315. That was the room, 3315. Call light over, and we look at that little thing. We like, wait a minute. Ain't nobody got no patient at 3315. Nobody got no patient in here. So me and the nurse look at each other. We thinking maybe the pregnant nurse had went in there and maybe she could get to the bathroom. You know, when you far pregnant, you can't get to the bathroom. Maybe she just used that one in there. So we head that direction thinking it was her, right? How about she come from the other bathroom? Talking about, I heard the call, like, what's going on? We look at her like, you coming from this direction? We coming here thinking it's you that needed help. She coming from a different side of the hallway. No, so she runs and no, don't you be running. We trying to have a baby today. We get down to this room. We get close to the room and we realize that it wasn't her. I said, oh no, wait a minute. Ain't nobody in that room. You go in there. That's the pregnant woman, the other woman. You go in there. She's like, I ain't going in there. She said, you know the story behind this. I said, no, not behind this room. Because keep in mind, this hospital at this point in time only about 3, 4, 5 years old. It's not that old to have a lot of we hadn't had any deaths on our floor. Maternal deaths on our floor. Come to find out, we go in there. The call light just going off. Ding, ding, ding. Our call light, the light at the top is you can see the light flashing. And we're like, okay, we ain't got no patient in there. Is there a shortage in there? The thing wasn't even in the wall. The call light, you know how the call light, you put it in the wall. The call light wasn't even in the wall. So, because we somebody had taken it earlier this shift or whatever, because somebody else's call light wasn't working. So since the room was empty, they never put the call light back in there. That's going off, ain't no call light in the room, in the wall. But you see the light up there flashing. Anyway, we ain't nobody going in that room. I said, when I saw that, I ain't going up in there. I ain't going in there. So anyway, house supervisor makes rounds every so many hours, right? House supervisor come down. I said, she come up and say, hey, we just had a death in room, whatever, something 15. It must be the floor below us. And we're like, something 15. She was like, yeah. I said, well, our call light went off in 33:15. I said, but what time did this happen? So she passed probably about 3:02, something like that. We were like, our call light went off in our room. And she was just like, yeah, I've heard about that room right there. That room be catching spirits. It's like you understand like what a dream catcher is? That room catches spirits. I said, oh no, I ain't gonna ever go back into that room. So during the day, of course, I do go back to the room during the day. But what ends up happening is we didn't realize that these spirits get trapped, right? So when I bring students or whatever to their room and they are like, I don't say nothing. I just say, hey, this is one of our bigger rooms right here. We hold this for C-sections. It has a great view and you can see the road from the view. It's kind of eerie at night, but you can see the road from the view, the intersect from the room. And the students be like, it's something about this room don't feel right. So then I said, why don't y'all go into the bathroom, right? Go in the bathroom, see how big the bathroom is. I kid you not. The student, this is at a different day. All this is happening on a different day with the students. The student goes to the bathroom and they stop literally at the seam of where the bathroom in the room, the seam of that floor right there. Mm-hmm. I said, well, what's wrong? Like as if they've seen something. Like, what's wrong? What's stopping you? That's like, I feel something. I feel something. I feel something. Don't you know the other 4 students peeled up out that room? They ran so quick. Mm. But she stood there in a paralytic state, like I feel something. Not like where, like she could not move, like she could not go forward, she couldn't go back, like literally just stood there and didn't move. And I called her name, and like I'm like, okay, do you not hear me? We ain't been back. Unless there's a patient already in there, like a patient occupying that room, I will not go into that. I would not go into that room otherwise. Whatever it is, had that student. And she's like, I feel, and she stood there and I said, come on. When I tell you she could not move, like imagine being paralyzed, like physically paralyzed. She could not move. She could not come back from, she just couldn't move. I mean, I couldn't explain it any different. It was the scariest thing ever. And this is during the day shift at this point in time. It's not night shift. The scariest thing that I have ever dealt with this is at a new hospital. So again, we don't have patients down on our floor, or we hadn't had anybody down on our floor. So I was just like, oh my gosh, like If people didn't believe, they believed then. So that's my two stories. I didn't mean to tell two, but the first one just came up because I remember the window, the condensation. But anyway, so what is your story in terms of what happened?
That was a good one, Doc. Well, my story is more like a shift from hell. So it's a horror story from a nursing work perspective. So picture this. You're on a, this is a med-surg floor, as if that's not enough of a horror for some of you, but you're on the med-surg floor and you get report, you got 6 patients, you have no tech, night shift. That's scary enough, but you know, we're just getting started. And one of your patients is psychotic. And he had a sitter. This is one of the patients that's been there forever. And you're like, when are they going to discharge this patient? Well, they couldn't discharge him because he couldn't be without a sitter because he was not safe. Okay. Some of you might question, well, why he wasn't on XYZ med. He was on a bunch of psych meds, but why he wasn't on something else is beyond me. I'm just telling you the story. So I get reported like, oh, well, let's just call him John Doe. Mr. John Doe, we finally took his sitter away so he can be discharged to a facility, because at that time, I don't know what they do now, if you had a sitter, the nursing facilities would not take you because they don't have that kind of staffing. So they discharged his sitter on this night, and they said, you know, you got to keep a close eye on him. I'm like, well, with 6 patients, I'm gonna keep a close eye on him, and you know, I don't have any help. But okay, let's you know, keep on going. Then I had another patient who had a very demanding. This particular hospital didn't have visiting hours. By then, this was way before the pandemic. And by no visiting hours, I mean visitors 24/7. The vast majority of visitors were during the day, but every so often you had somebody at night that just would not leave. The only places that had visiting hours was the ICU, and even their visiting hours were very liberal. I mean, they might have had, in 24 hours, they may have had 4 hours where people couldn't visit, and I use couldn't very loosely. So anyway, I had a very demanding family member that wouldn't leave in another room. And then I had another psych patient who they didn't have, who had an order for a sitter, but didn't have the staff to provide one. So I really have 2 patients that need a sitter, and I have a demanding family member plus 3 other patients, okay? So time goes on, I do my assessments, I do my rounds, whatever. So my one patient, let's call him the one I call John Doe, he starts getting out of pocket. He's hollering, he's screaming, he's naked. I keep, you know, asking, you know, Mr. Doe, please put your clothes on. Mr. Doe, you know, here's your pants, here's your gown. I'm not keeping that on, you know, curse words. Okay, Mr. Doe, fine. You in your room, you naked. So then my other patient that was supposed to have a sitter, but they didn't have the staff. When I went to do his vital signs, I walked in the room. And mind you, I had already done rounds once, but I got 6 patients. So I did my first set of rounds, make sure everyone's alive, they were alive. I do my second set of rounds, I gave everybody meds, they were fine. This is my third set of rounds, now I'm going to do vitals. This might have been 2-ish a.m.-ish. So I go in there, this man has poop, stool all over the wall. Like he just painted the wall and stool. Now he can get up and he can walk. He got a bathroom in his room, but that's not what he wanted to put it. It's all over the wall as far as the eyes could see. And I'm like, you just gotta be kidding me. He got it all over himself too. So he just painted himself in the room brown. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. So I'm like, I'm just completely taken aback. So I say, okay. Otherwise, he was stable, and he had it all on his face too. So I'm wondering if he was even consuming it, but okay. Now I got that going on, and I got the demanding family member in the other room who keeps ringing the call like for every little thing. So she's calling me asking for applesauce and whatever else. Then I get another patient. This is a 4 patient who had an order for blood. So now I got to do a transfusion. This is the night of living for him. It was a horrible night. So I go to the charge nurse. I'm like, okay, before I start giving this blood, I need to get these other patients settled in. I go to the charge nurse. I say, hey, I got poop everywhere in this room. Can we get the patient in another room? We only had 1 other free room and it was dirty. She said, okay, I'll call housekeeping to clean the room and then we'll transfer the patient. Because keep in mind, it's an infectious disease floor. So most of the patients there have some sort of infection. infectious processes. So our rooms had to be cleaned very thoroughly. Not that they shouldn't always be. Okay, fine. That's not, it's disgusting, but it's not a high priority. My priority is doing the blood. But I know I got Mr. John Doe over there. So I said, let me make sure he's settled before because I don't have a tech, I don't have any help. So I said, let me make sure that John Doe is settled first. So I come out in the hallway and I think I was putting something in the computer and I smelled something. I couldn't make out what the smell was. It was a very strong, pungent smell. I didn't know what it was. So I'm like, what is that? And it smelled like something was burning, but not like a burnt popcorn in a microwave burn. It was like something that, like an electrical kind of smell. I'm like, what's going on? And I followed the scent to John Doe room. John Doe is naked and he has urinated in the heater in the room. And now it is smoke coming out of the heater in his room. So I got the poopy room, I got a demanding family member, I got an order for blood, and now I got a fire in this man's room. When I tell you, I wanted to pull my eyelashes out one at a time. I said, you've got to be kidding me. So now you got to call up, what is it, a cold red or cold whatever to come put the fire out, get the patient, and that, mind you, we don't have no rooms. We got one room in this dairy, he's naked. So I'm getting the patient out the room, I'm covering him with the blanket that he throws off. I'm Mr. Sir, please, here, sit in the recliner, something, he throws it back off. So the man standing in the hallway, he got a PICC line and his balls out. Like that's what's going on here. Long story short, maintenance came, they fixed it. We had him sitting out in the at the nurse's station. So while that's being done, I go ahead and I start my blood. You have to stay with the patient for a while that's getting started. Okay. Maintenance come, they fix his room, they put out the fire. And by now it's about 5 something. And now we have finally transferred the patient that had the stool all over the room to the clean room. That's finally clean. Keep in mind, all this time, I'm still having to do my nursing interventions. I'm still charting. We didn't have phlebotomy at this hospital, so I had to do all my own AM lab. So I'm doing all of this by myself. And then, of course, that patient had stool over himself. I had to help him clean up. And I had a demanding family member in the other room. Then I get a call, like, again, from the demanding family member. I go in the room, it's night shift, it's dark. So I said, okay, I answered the phone at the nurse there. I said, okay, I'll be in soon. So I said, while I go in there, I might as well draw his blood. And hopefully it's the last time I gotta go in this room. I go in there, the room is dark. So I open the door, again, it's infectious disease floor. So I'm gowned up and I was about to hit the light switch. I take a few steps forward. Next thing I know, I feel myself falling forward. All the blood, the tubes, everything I had, man, the Jordan Man blood goes flying around the room because now I'm falling. I'm falling and I'm going like this, trying to catch myself before I fall. The woman is laying on the floor. I tripped over her. And now I'm laying like this, face to face with this woman on top of her.
Oh my God.
I have tripped and fell on this woman. I'm like, what the hell is going on in here? So she's laying on the floor. And I asked her, now I'm trying to pull, because you fall on top of somebody, you know, it's totally weird. So I get up and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are you on the floor? I'm asking, did she fall? She said, no, she was just laying there. Okay.
In the floor?
She was laying on the floor. Yes. So by now I'm completely done. In my mind, I have mentally quit this job by now. And I'm leaving out some details. So anyway, I pick up everything. I end up drawing a patient's blood, give them whatever it is that they want. So it's time to go Mr. John Doe with the PICC line. I got to do his labs. I go in his room. He's not there. I'm like, oh my God, well, where did he go? Because I'm going around drawing blood for everybody. So I can't watch him. I'm like, where'd he go? So I couldn't find him. I walked around the unit, couldn't find him. Asking the other nurses, have you seen him? Nobody's seen him. So now I have to call security so they can look for the cameras to find this man. So they found him on camera. He's sitting down in the lobby, butt naked, all his body parts out, PICC line hanging on. He's sitting out downstairs in the lobby, just butt naked, just sitting there. And mind you, we don't have visiting hours. So you still got family members trotting through the lobby all hours of the night. So just imagine you coming to see your loved one, you coming in through the front lobby. This is the main entrance of the hospital. Maybe it's 2 a.m. It was not uncommon. And you see somebody sitting there, but a ball naked, just sitting there. So, when they found him on camera, I said, oh my God, somebody please help me. They bring him back up and get him back in his room, get him back settled. And finally, this shift from the living hell was over. The night was over. So, and believe it or not, I was still able to leave on time, even after all of that. So by this point, I'm just done. I'm completely just done. I come in the next night to a write-up. Now, mind you, this shift that I had, and the charge nurse was very aware because I had to involve the charge nurse. The charge nurse helped me to check, do the 2-person check for the blood. The charge nurse had to help me with the patient that had the stool everywhere, with clearing out the old room and putting him into the new room and cleaning that room because the walls and everything had to be scrubbed down. The charge nurse was also aware that I had a demanding family member. And the charge nurse was also aware when Mr. John Doe eloped from the unit and all the issues I had with him. And I had other issues with him back and forth that night too, but I just mentioned the fire because that was like the highlight of the night. So this is not a secret that this was an assignment from hell. I come in the next night to a write-up because I get a write-up because the family member complained, the demanding one, that I took too long answering the call light. They also complained that when I fell on top of her. Now, mind you, she landed on the floor in the dark. So she complained, and then she also claimed she was injured because I fell on her. And then one of my 6 patients, one of my other patients complained that I took too long delivering their pain medication. Now, keep in mind this assignment that I had. So this is what I'm talking about when I say nursing is a thankless profession. It don't matter how hard you work. It don't matter what you do. It's always somebody that's gonna tell you you're not enough, that you're not doing enough. So I had that conversation with my manager. I'm like, do you realize the assignment that I had? First of all, no one should have had an assignment like that. I had a patient who had an order for a sitter. That's how much attention this person needs. And there was no sitter. I had another patient who needed a sitter, but y'all took the sitter away because y'all trying to discharge him. So he's starting fires and eloping naked around the hospital. And then I have a demanded family member who's laying. So when she complained about me tripping over her, did she mention she was laying on the floor in the dark? No, of course. We left that part out. So anyway, that was, in my opinion, I have a lot, but that was one of the worst shifts I've ever had as a nurse. And I say that to let future nurses, baby nurses know, it might not be the exact same situation, but you're going to have days and nights like that. And it's always important, as Dr. Pace always alludes to remember your why. At that point, I had no why. My why was I had to pay my light bill. Because I just couldn't think of another reason why I was there. It was completely crazy. But just remember your why and understand that, times like this will happen and times will get tough. It's not going to be every shift, but there are going to be some. And I hope this was your scary nursing stories for Halloween 2022.
All right, so that wraps up our video for today. Thank you so much for watching our video in its entirety. Please go to our other platforms, social media platforms, on TikTok, on Instagram, and of course, watch other videos here at Nursing Dynamics is the handle for all of those. And also go to the Amazon storefront icon in the banner up top. And that's where you'll find things that we have vetted. If you go to Nursing Essentials as an example, and you decide that, hey, I want to know what book do they recommend for X, Y, and Z. And you can go see what books we have vetted for NCLEX Prep, for the T's, for AMP, and so forth. Many other classes along the way as well as other nursing essentials that you need, and more on our storefront. So until the next time, you all take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.